The Unscrewed Mind.
So, Unscrewed Mind, episode number 32. We are going to be talking about the movie The Secret.
Yep.
I have not read the book. There's a book too, right?
I believe there is a book by Rhonda Byrne, right? But
Yep.
I've only ever seen the movie, never read the book.
Yeah. So, also, if you would like to see a interview with Rhonda Byrne, she was interviewed November 27th of 2020 by Lewis Howes on YouTube. And the last time that she was interviewed prior to that was in February 2nd of 2012 by Oprah.
Yeah.
So she went a very long time without an interview. And she tells kind of how she was driven to write this movie and that it was like her last shot to survive. Did you watch it too, Matt?
No, I think I might have saw like the first 5 minutes of that interview and then moved on to something else.
Yeah, she basically was down to her. No, she was millions in debt and made the movie to come out of it. So that may make you feel differently about the movie. But anyway, so The Secret is pretty big in uh, our community, our niche, whatever you want to call it. And we've both watched it twice now. You watched it, and then I'm just going to give my personal perspective on the movie. I think that overall it's a good movie. And the thing that I see people judging it on in a negative way is that it's just basically no information and just a advertisement.
Okay.
And so I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, knowing how long that I've been studying it, you can't just tell people something. And if you go look at the reviews on IMDb, it is like 8 negative reviews to every one good review. And people are saying cringe inducing, uh, wish I could give it 0 stars. Interviews with charlatans. I don't know how to say it. What are they thinking? And then somebody says that they can be a vampire or a dolphin or a millionaire based on what the information is in The Secret. And I guess in 2021, you could identify as a dolphin or a vampire if that's what you wish. But
Right.
Pretty interesting. But the big thing is you can see how quickly people are to judge the law of attraction. There's
Right.
Instantly when you tell somebody about something that they don't know about, or if they watch something that they know nothing about, they're going to give a negative feedback to it. And that's what something I was talking to Matt about actually yesterday is negativity is so easy to gravitate towards because you see something that is negative in the news and we're always comparing ourselves to what's going on in the world. So if you see somebody that is in a fire or it's like a way to make yourself feel better about your life by seeing this negativity. So a lot of people get stuck on an endless cycle of looking for negative things to happen outside of them so that they can feel better about what's going on with themselves.
Yeah, and I really think that this movie probably had a second life through social media and through those platforms. So I bet you a lot of those negative comments or negative reviews I bet are more recent. Where I'm sure this movie had a ton of momentum and was really popular in the late 2000s and early teens, right around the time this movie came out. And like the production value and even the introduction, like I don't know that it holds up over time, but I would say that it's chock full of information, great quotes, simple steps that you can take to start using the law of attraction right away. And I think every single person that was interviewed for this movie, including Bob Proctor, who happens to be my favorite, they are all throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs in this. They're giving their best quotes, they're using their best information, and they're selling the law of attraction as hard as they can. And they truly believe in it. There's some great stories, there's some great examples, some great analogies. And I enjoyed watching it last night. It's the second time I've ever seen it. It brought back some interesting memories. The things I knew were memorable were still memorable to me. And I would recommend anyone watch it because there's something in there for everyone, even if you don't necessarily believe in every single piece once you finish watching it.
Yeah. And, what the people that are attacking it so hard, I'm just wondering, have they tried to do any of the things in it? Because I hear people comparing it to Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins, he has a lot of, law of attraction in his speeches, and he's made millions and millions of dollars. And I don't view it as negative because he's helped so many people also throughout that to feel better and for them to do things in their life that they would have been either too scared to do or just wouldn't even think of doing it if they weren't given kind of the motivation to step towards that.
And
So,
and we've
yeah,
talked about how guys like Tony Robbins and others make money from like their master classes. And the reason why they're able to charge that is there's some people that will find the information online and they'll put it into use and they'll find value in it. But there's other people that have to pay for something to actually assign a value to it, right? And that's why those classes are out there and that's why people get paid to teach it.
yeah,
So, you can't, obviously, if you want to attract abundance in your life, you can't point at someone and think negatively about how they're earning their money or accumulating their abundance. So, good on Tony Robbins for being able to put these classes together and help as many people as he has. And if you've ever listened to him, the guy is really good at what he does. I've never watched him and walked away feeling like that was a waste of my time.
yeah. And from my viewpoint, if I'm trying to pick out a negative part of The Secret, it's just not there for me. I don't see anything that was purposely negative or something that was said that could make you feel worse about yourself or to make you feel worse about the situation of the world. I mean, none of it was negative from my viewpoint. And like you said, Matt, great quotes throughout the movie. Really great. I mean, awesome cast members. And if you look at pretty much any one of these guys individually, you're going to find really great content. Um, there was the John Assaroff,
Uh-huh.
Joe Vitale, Bob Proctor. Trying to think of any of the other ones that really stood out to me.
The one that stood out to me was Jack Canfield because I've been to his website a few times, and
Yeah.
then wrote Chicken Soup or co-wrote Chicken Soup of the Soul, which
Yes.
through during the 90s, I went to his wiki page. He sold the third most copies of any book throughout the 90s.
Yes.
That's insane. And there's different levels to the Chicken Soup of the Soul. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but that title sticks in my head, and there's no reason for it to other than it was just one of the most popular books of all time.
Oh yeah,
But
and
again,
it's a
before
positive
social
thinking
media.
book.
Yeah.
Huh?
I would say before social media.
Yeah.
That thing had wings when you had to read about it in the newspaper to determine if it was a real thing. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And there's chicken soup for everything in the world, basically
Hmm.
now. They've got like 90 different, or it's maybe more than 90, so I won't even say 90, but
Yeah.
tons of different books. And uh, listening to that guy's story is amazing. Even outside of in the movie, he really gets into details on how everything went, and it's really great. And So anyway, a lot of negative reviews. It's for sure people that have never even looked into the law of attraction. Surely haven't tried it, and it's just something that's programmed into us to think negatively. Or there's a vast group of people that are programmed to think negatively about things that are not told to them from a very young age that it's something that you do, and lots of pushback from it because it is not what you do normally. So, I think if you haven't seen the movie, it's worth seeing. And I think that if you are new to the law of attraction, I think there's a ton of great people for you to be able to look up and follow. And, all of these people do stuff for free as well. So, um, Bob gives away classes. Bob has his own YouTube channel. All of them are on social media sharing information. Uh, so I really don't think that it's all a money grab, and I think it's more about expanding other people's thought processes on the topic. And the more people that are behind it, the better off, because it's a creation of the planet that we're living on.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone to not want another person to do as well as they can is really a disservice to themselves, because they're holding themselves back, like you were saying,
Yep.
by not wanting that person to succeed. And the way that you need to think about it is if that person can do it, then that means that you can also. And so many
Absolutely.
times we're always thinking, well, if this person's doing that, or if this person made that, then I can't do it. But another thing they mention is that there's an endless amount of resources available to us. Just because we're being told by TV that there's a limited supply of anything is not, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And
Right.
one of my favorite conspiracy theory things I'll bring up is oil, gasoline for the car, oil. It's called the Rockefellers made up that the oil came from dinosaurs,
Mm-hmm. Fossil
so that it
fuels.
so that it would be something that is a limited production. And you know gas is constantly oil refineries are constantly pumping oil. It's endless.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like water. And nobody, people still believe that it's limited, but we just get more and more and more cars. But maybe we should cut that because it might upset some people.
It's going in. That's a short. That's the next short. Hey, so
No.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you some questions
Yeah.
because I like your input. This is one question that I wrote down when I was watching the movie last night, and this came like right out of the introduction. Do you really think that the greatest minds in history knew about the law of attraction and kept it from the rest of the world? Because that's the premise. Has
Oh
it
yeah.
has this been known by the most successful people, and have they kept it from us on purpose?
That is it's a great question, because there's two different ways to look at it. We have this information today, and we have tons of people talking about it, and we're just looking at these reviews, tons of negative reviews about the information. So, are we going to say that there was a system that was put in place to block that information, and then these people are programmed to attack it basically because of what they've learned growing up? Or are we going to just say that people can't find it until they're ready to find it? I really don't know what the answer is,
Mm-hmm.
because so many people, including myself, you can just tell when somebody resonates with something that you're talking about, and it's a totally different act or feeling that they're giving towards you, versus somebody that is like, I don't believe that, and they just kind of dismiss what you're saying. you can hear you can see and feel when somebody's paying attention to you versus when they're just listening to what you're saying, but not comprehending what you're saying, I guess. So I don't know. I don't, I would hope that we're not living in a world that people would spend that kind of time on. I don't really understand why there would be a negative control system, but I think it's interesting how, the yin and yang side of things, and that there's a positive polarity to every negative. I don't know. What do you think?
I just think we live in a world where for the first 18 years of your life, you're told what to eat, drink, think, and how to live your life. And then you're set free on the world and you have kind of this closed-minded view of how things work based on where you grew up and then, or who your family was or how they raised you. And then you're able to later on either break free from that and think on your own and accept new ideas, or you live in that closed-minded world forever. And I think that's where the difference is. I don't know. It'd be an interesting world if you were taught that you could be, do, or have anything you want from the beginning. Like, what would we be capable of then?
Yeah.
Second question, and this comes up in here, and I see it online, and I hate it every time. Do you like the analogy that the law of attraction is like being a magnet, and you're attracting to you the things that you want? And I say that because obviously magnets, opposites attract, right? And then the other piece is, the law of attraction says like attracts like. So can you truly be a magnet and attract like? So I'm just.
Oh, so you're being really specific on the definition of a magnet there.
Well,
sure.
And then we did an episode previously where we were talking about the reasons why people think the law of attraction is a hoax, and one of them and I don't think we used this, but in my extensive research for like an hour before we did that episode, one of them was that that magnets don't attract like, they repel like. So like the fact the law of attraction is stupid is basically what they drew from that. So when I hear someone use the term magnet and the law of attraction, I just don't like it. I wonder what you think.
Man, I've never thought of it from that perspective at all. I just think of a magnet like picking up
Just like
the things that you're trying to pick up with a magnet. So this is a special magnet, Matt.
Okay.
That only attracts the things that you want, not the things that you don't want. Okay.
Perfect. So it's a magic magnet.
Magic magnet. Yes.
I love it. So,
but that goes back to the thing that what you're seeking is seeking you. And when people are watching The Secret, somebody may find that's never looked into the law of attraction, or they may just see the little stamp that says The Secret on a quote or something like that. And then they look at it later on. And so I think it's had a lot of positive impact on the law of attraction. And I do believe that you can heal yourself. I do believe that you can keep yourself from getting sick. Placebo effect with medications is proof of that.
mm-hmm.
And, if I hadn't experienced the law of attraction working myself, there's no way that I would be on a podcast with you today talking about it, because my life, my relationships 100% changed. The way that I interact with every person in my life is different than it was before. And just seeing other people that have been on this journey with me, seeing them change and feeling better about themselves, I just really I can't point to anything that's negative that's happened. And it has tons to do with focusing on the positive outcome of things instead of the negative things. And so it's just like wanting to see something negative on TV or listening to something negative on the radio. People can also chain the thoughts of negativity in their mind all the time. And,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking, oh, what's this person going to say about that? Or what would happen if this happened? Or, you, it's just stuff like that constantly coming into your mind, and you're not rejecting, you're reacting, you're having feelings about each one of those things that come in. Now, this could go back to the idea of a negative control system. So we could even go as far as saying, do I think that a group of people made up the law of attraction so that we would become more compliant with everything, so that we wouldn't focus on the negative sides of things that are going on our planet?
Right.
But to me, you can still have common sense and be focused on the law of attraction. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody gets hurt in a car accident or something like that, are we going to immediately say, oh, you were wanting that? The law of attraction set you up with that car wreck. And you could probably argue that there was something that happened that made the person coincidentally get in the wreck or whatever you want. But things do happen. We do things in our life that are risky, whether it's falling on a bicycle or, whatever it is. Um, there's risk to things that you're doing. There's risk to everything that you do. But can it be drastically decreased by having a feeling inside of you that you're going to go this way and not that way? Absolutely.
Mm.
Uh, the most successful people that I've personally ever met are always extremely confident, and they're not worried about pretty much anything that's going on the main stage of the world. And they're more concerned with what's going on in their area, because they're not specifically trying to affect the main stage. So why would they be focused on the main stage?
Some things that I really liked about this movie that I wrote down. I took like 4 pages of notes. I really like the. I mean, obviously, the secret is the law of attraction, and Bob makes an interesting point, and I mean, he says this through all of his movies. He says you don't need to understand something to accept it, right? Like attracts like. You don't need to understand it to accept it. He makes the analogy that you don't really understand how electricity works, but you still get to enjoy the benefits. I thought that was, really powerful.
Yeah.
The other thing is, um, you can't control all your thoughts, but you can monitor your feelings and your emotions.
Yeah.
So, paying attention to how you feel is really important. Um, your thoughts and your feelings create your life. And then this is a really good analogy for how you use the universe to manifest what you want. Think of it as Aladdin and the lamp. Your job is simply to just rub the lamp, and then the genie pops out, who's the universe kind of in this analogy, and it just says, hey, your wish is my command. And then you don't have to worry about how it happens or who does it or what brings it about. All you have to do is set your intention, make that wish, and the powers that be will bring it into existence. And that's right around the time where they talk about the creative process, where you simply ask, believe, and then receive. Trying to think the part where Canfield talks about writing the check up on the ceiling, and within like a couple weeks, he had the intuition that he just needed to charge a quarter for 400,000 copies of his book, and he makes $100,000. Was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there's so much. There really is so much. I don't want to sit here and like read through my notebook, but there's so many things. And then this one I really want to highlight, because you say this all the time, and I just don't ever hear it. And then last night I heard it in the movie, and it really stuck out for me. Your current state of affairs, your today, is not who you are, it's who you were. So the person that I am right now is manifested by a different version of Matt, and this life was manifested by a different version. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
manifesting my future version right now. It just hasn't come here yet. So it's interesting to think about how now is the residual effect of your past thoughts. What do you think about that?
Oh, for sure. And We've talked about manifesting a car that's a certain color, and relationships, going back to that real quick. When you are thinking about someone in a certain way, they react to the way that you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't understand how anyone could watch the movie and have such a negative feeling about it without giving anything that they said a try, because it's very simple. And to not be able to see that you've already manifested your life to this point, I mean, I can literally look back and connect how everything occurred now,
Mm-hmm.
from the law of attraction perspective. So I mean, I'm not the right person, right, to say that
Right.
it's not, I guess.
Yeah, and they have a section on relationships where like the main point that comes across is, do you treat yourself the way you want others to be treated? And if you're loving yourself, then you're going to attract into your life someone that loves you too. It's it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. And then this movie, I was thinking about this before the episode today. This movie is where I got the idea for vision boards, because that Asaroff guy talks about how he created a vision board and then, had that mansion picture on it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
then, breaks down because he's living in the house that he had the picture of. I was like,
Like,
this,
how many years later was it? Like 3 years later or five
yeah, it
years
was like
later?
3 years later. So I was
Yeah.
like, I manifested something as well. I saw this movie in 2007. And I was like, that vision board idea is really interesting. And it
Hmm.
only took me 15 years to manifest my own vision board.
So wait, you saw it in the beginning when it first came out?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw it way back, way back.
So,
And I was like, that vision board
oh
idea
wait,
is pretty
did
cool.
you review it and say how horrible it was right here?
Uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So final thoughts on The Secret. You don't have to watch it. Especially if you're on our channel, you found us. We're talking about a lot of the same things. Main thing that I would do is look up each one of the individuals that are on The Secret and go look at some of their information, because one huge miss of The Secret, and it wasn't a miss, it was on purpose, is there is no explanation of anything or any things to do to put into action in your life besides change the way that you think, which sounds very simple on the surface level, but there's so many things that you can do to improve yourself, like the meditating, uh, journaling, writing down your goals.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really talk about any of that. And this was just a way to get the most amount of people to start looking into it. And it may have backfired on them pretty hard on some of these reviews, because they didn't give any steps on really how to change your life and to feel better about yourself and to quit having the negative thoughts. Because you can't just say to yourself today, I want to stop having negative thoughts, and they're gone. That's not how
Mm-hmm.
it works. It's a lot of time spent and noticing, rejecting, ignoring, not reacting, whatever you want to say. That takes time and effort on your part to make that happen.
The Unscrewed Mind.